sure. If everyone will please stand for the opening prayer by Alderman Biggs, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for all the blessings that you have given to Arlington. We ask that you just be with our employees and watch over and protect our employees. We ask that you, bless Shelby County, guide our policy leaders, protect our deputies and the Memphis police, the EMTs, and we just ask for your guidance and wisdom on the board tonight as we make decisions for the town. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Lieutenant Wise, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. It's 74 degrees in here. All right, thank you all. Before we get going, we do, in a minute, we'll have comments from citizens where we allow up to 3 minutes. We ask, there's a card up front that you can fill out, or staff has some right here, I think, if anybody needs one, they can raise their hand and get one. But we also have a public hearing. If you're here to speak on that particular public hearing, we ask you to speak on that topic during the public hearing. So I will ask again if anybody has a card or needs a card, but there are cards right outside the hallway and our staff right here. So I have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 2nd, 2023 meeting. Motion by Mr. Harmon, second by Mr. Biggs. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none. All in favor say aye. Opposed? That item passes. Next up, we have grievances and comments from citizens. This is a chance where we let you come forward and speak on any particular topic that may or may not be on the agenda tonight. We will give you up to 3 minutes. We do ask you to state your name and address for the record. And please note that it's not necessarily a Q&A, but we will, if we can address it during the meeting at some point, we will. Are there anybody to speak on any topic, not the public hearing right now?
I do. My name is Lori Boyd, and I live at 12535 Harrell Road, Arlington, Tennessee. And what I'm coming up to address is the road that I live on is a dead-end road. And with Grant Homes next door, they have constructed the new subdivision. And at the end of the road, there once was a turnaround for the buses and the fire trucks and all that kind of stuff. But with the development, that turnaround has disappeared, that circle that was down there. Now, granted, it was a makeshift one. I'm not going to lie about that. But it was still there for safety purposes. And what's happening now is you have to go further down the road and try to do a 3-point turnaround. And I'm going to be very honest with you, a 25-foot truck cannot do that. They're not going to be able to make that 3-point turnaround successfully. I watched a truck the other day, and this is not the first time I've seen it happen, go down the road and back all the way up to that first road in the subdivision across the street from me to make a turnaround so that they wouldn't have to be in somebody's driveway. Mr. Rush does not want anybody in his driveway. They've already cracked his driveway. The other 2 driveways down in that area are private drives as well. So I understand that. My biggest concern is for fire trucks. If they have to go around and turn around and come back for some reason or whatever, or emergency services, we've always had that opportunity. We don't now. That road was cut off at one time with the fence, and that was because there was trash. There was other issues going on. We had to have the police come down there several times to get people out of the ditch that was all the way at the very end. Just different things. So Mr. Rush at that time put a gate up to protect that part of the area that he lived. So like I said, he moved, that became nonchalant. So I'd just like to see something done about it. I've asked the town, I've asked what's going on. I don't see anything successfully being done. And so it's just a matter of something's going to happen one of these days. We're going to need a fire truck back that way, and they ain't going to be able to move. Thank you.
Thank you. Real quick, I mean, this is kind of out of the norm. We are aware and working on something. Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, we have been, we've been in discussions and
We will, if you will, staff has your number, if you want to call back tomorrow. Well, tomorrow, if you will, because we don't usually get into the back and forth, but there is something being worked on, I promise you, on that road. That's why I asked what we could actually say about right now.
I just wanted to hear what he was saying. I could not hear him. That's why I asked.
They're working on a chip seal on that road, which is a top coat on it. And they had the fire department go down and measure.
The around that is down there now was put in for the fire truck. They can't have that. But we're
There's
looking
no
at
way. I'm not gonna argue that point here, but I'm telling you, if somebody drives a big unit, there's no way.
Sorry, ma'am. Any other comments? Do we have any other cards? On any particular topic, again, the public hearing is still coming up if you're here to speak on the public hearing.
Just a question real quick.
Well, you have to come, I'm sorry, this is just part of, you have to come up and state your name and address for the record.
My name's Dale Leeds. I live at 5695 Hayes Road. My question is very simple. I'm just asking is the comments for the resolution 2023 waiting until that part of the business? Fine, thanks.
All right, were there any other cards, comments? All right, seeing none. Communications from the mayor. Sheriff's Department report.
Good evening, City of Arlington, members of the board. This will be the October 2023 crime report. If you'll turn to the next page, that's the map. There is no violent crime to report, and if you'll take off number 1 where it says motor vehicle theft, passenger vehicle, that actually occurred at the Econo Lodge in the city of Lakeland, not Arlington. So there's only 9 reports to show instead of 10. Again, no reports of anything violent, no aggravated assaults, no burglary of in construction areas, and no robberies of individuals are what we track. So, again, the city of Arlington's a safe place.
That sounds pretty simple. Any questions for the Sheriff's Department report?
I was going to say on the burglary on the residential and business, has there been any arrest or anything like that
On which one?
number 4, number 5?
Not that I'm aware of.
Those are forced entries?
Yeah, the burglary business was a side window or side door that was broken at Arlington Motors. No arrest there. And the other was a residential burglary at 4210 Hickory Run. No arrest there.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was the house that he sold. Yeah, I think somebody just. Arlington Fire Department report. Lieutenant Wiseman, thank you.
Good evening. For the month of October, we had 115 total responses, 67 EMS responses, 48 fire responses, 25 mutual aid given, 3 mutual aid received. We had 21 calls south of I-40, 16 calls on I-40. We had 20 inspections, 3 smoke alarm checks. We had 3 members completed critical incident stress debriefing and peer support training with the Tennessee Public Safety Network. We had multiple PR events several around Halloween and trunk or treats. We hired 2 new employees who are completing background checks and physicals to replace 2 employees that were separated from the department. The last of our annual hose testing was finished, and for the Arlington barbecue, we had emergency ops plans in effect, and we're also working on the Christmas parade and the Christmas on the Square at this time. Any questions?
More public relation events.
Do I?
More public relation events.
More public relations.
Any questions for the fire department? Thank you, Lieutenant Wiseman.
Thank you.
A few notes, Mrs. Howe, any announcements? I think you have a luncheon in a couple of days.
We do. This will be the last luncheon at our present location that we've been using for 7 or 8 years. So I wanted to just read into the record how much we've appreciated the partnership with the Arlington Church of Christ for the use of their facilities at no charge for all of these years. And so this Wednesday will be the last luncheon at that location. The December luncheon will start meeting at Orion Hill. And so we hope that you can join us for both lunches. We had a Veterans Day program yesterday. It was very well attended, and it was a great program. And if you see Hugh Lamar, be sure and give him a pat on the back for putting that together. The chamber is glad to host that, but I just kind of stand out of Hugh's way and make sure I don't get in the way while he's working on that. So anyway, appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few announcements. I just left a reception we had a reception in Bartlett with mayors from as far as Earl, Arkansas. I think I was telling Mr. Biggs, the young man that's 19 years old, that's not just the youngest in the state of Arkansas, but youngest mayor in the the United States. He came with some other, it was quite a mix from Arkansas, Mississippi, and West Tennessee. Kind of getting to know Paul Young, the new mayor of Memphis, since it's a regional draw from Memphis. So it was a good reception. Bartlett hosted it along with the suburban mayors, but Bartlett was the main host, and Bank of Bartlett supported. So that was a good event. I just left a few minutes ago. We just mentioned it. We got holiday events, busy time of year for staff, busy time of year for everybody, family and friends and everybody. So we do have a work session next month. Is that correct? What's that date again, Mrs. Owens? Do you have that offhand? December 6th? 7th. December 7th. And I know staff could probably validate this. I think we need to probably start being prepared. It's going to be a busy third quarter maybe coming up with some work. So that's all I've got. Does anybody have any announcements they want to make? All right. Committee reports. Any committee reports? Do want to make note that we had a vacancy that just arose on the DRC. We just posted it online, and I'll take recommendations for whatever we can find. That's our one committee that is, has to have specific types of trades, most likely to fill those spots. So hopefully we can find somebody in that same field. And Daniel Davidson. Daniel Davidson. He took a job with the fire department. Pending. Well, sorry. Sorry. I don't think.
Employee and serve on any board. You can't be an employee and serve on any of our boards.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So. Yeah, exactly. But I know we usually do them in November, and we've changed the election cycle, but it's been kind of a fluid process as vacancies. We've had some people move or these type of reasons, and we'll handle them as they come up. So I'll be talking with Jeff on that and any other ideas anyone else has. All right, let's see. Consent agenda. We have 5 items on the consent agenda. Is there any objection before we get a motion? Does anybody want to pull anything off the consent agenda for discussion? All right. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Biggs. Second by Mr. Harmon. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? That item passes. Next up, we have old business. Any old business, Mrs. Owens? All right, on to new business. Item A, first reading of ordinance 2023-05 to amend Title 13 Property Maintenance Regulations of the Town of Arlington Municipal Code by addition of Chapter 6 Short-Term Rental Units. Mr. Lawson.
Following some discussions we had had previously and different issues we've been looking at over the last year as far as the addition of short-term rental units as they've come up in the town, and following suit with other municipalities in the local area, this will amend so that it would regulate and prohibit short-term rentals, anything less than 30 days, within all zones, residential, commercial, multifamily, everything that comes through within the town. We will also be bringing an ordinance up that will include it to the planning commission and add it to the zoning code, but this is an addition, this is just the municipal code ordinance, so we'll take this reading and a second reading and a public hearing at the next meeting, and we'll also, you'll see it come up again as an amendment to the zoning code, just so that we have it in both places. But this does prohibit, and this does follow, we've reviewed it, and it does follow state law.
You've heard the recommendation from Mr. Lawson. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. McKee. Second by Ms. McKee. Any discussion or questions on this?
Make a new column on the.
It won't, this won't, because this is the municipal code, so what we will have is there will be an addition, if it's adopted by the planning commission and change the zoning ordinance, we'll have a definition section, which will be the same definition of short-term vacation rental, and then there will be a provision on the use chart that. It'll be on the use chart, prohibited, yes.
So people can see it.
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
I think you've seen the trend with this going around and
I believe
everybody.
Lakeland adopted it last month. We've been looking at it for Millington and Arlington for a little bit. It's prohibited in Cairville and Germantown.
Germantown, I spoke with them last week about it, yeah, so.
There's some major cities starting to.
I think Memphis even was even considering city council.
Nashville is having the conversations, it sounds like.
I'm just telling you, because she's taking notes and she wants to be able to hear.
I was just saying, major cities are also looking at that, not just,
Yes.
suburban areas.
All right, any discussion? This is a first
Curious,
reading.
I'm just curious, kind of thinking ahead, will this be something that we will rely on residents to notify the town if like this happens in their neighborhood after we pass this? I mean, how is it enforced?
Yeah, I mean, if something comes up and it's police, it'd be like any other code violation that we would have if we find that people are doing it. Now, and I had a question earlier, this may not be clear in here. So under the state law, we can regulate them going forward. Any that are in existence are allowed to continue unless they discontinue for 30 months or they're sold and transferred to another property owner. So any that are in existence, which we've looked through, Jeremy and I discussed it, we can't find, especially none that are paying the required taxes that would have been required, so.
Any other questions for the attorney? Remember, this is the first reading, so we will have chances to ask questions between now and the second reading. Any more questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? That item passes. Item B, Resolution 2023-33 to approve an amendment to the Master Development Plan for Mayberry PD, a 25.67 acre residential development on the east side of Hayes Road. Mr. Crater.
Good evening.
We do have a public hearing on this.
Yes. The Mayberry PD, a 25.6 acre residential plan development was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on December 20th, 2021, and subsequently approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen on February 7th of 2022. Construction plans were submitted for Planning Commission review and approved on September 19th of 2022. Upon submitting plans to TDEC for approval, the developer was informed that the ditch running along Hayes Road is classified by TDEC as a blue line stream. Mitigation of this stream proved to be impossible due to cost constraints along with a lack of available mitigation credits. The developer was forced to make revisions to the design of the development, resulting in a revised master development plan application being submitted for review. Town of Arlington ordinances require that revisions to master development plans must follow the same approval process as the original submittal. As such, this revision was heard by the Planning Commission on September 18th of 2023 with a duly advertised public hearing and recommended for approval, and subsequently shall be heard by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with a duly advertised public hearing. The most prominent change to the master development plan is the Hayes Road frontage. The largest benefit of this development to the town was the alleviation of flooding along Hayes Road. The original design included relocation of the roadside ditch and improvements to Hayes Road. With the roadside ditch being classified as a blue line stream, the design had to be modified to achieve the same or similar result without disturbing or significantly modifying the ditch. There are several differences between the original design and the current proposal. The first being Hayes Road is to remain as is versus improvements proposed in the original design. Second, an additional pond is being proposed north of the entry drive. The pond is part of a revised stormwater drainage system designed to alleviate the flooding of Hayes Road by diverting overflow from the roadside ditch and water entering the property from adjacent properties into an oversized wet detention ponds, allowing for this water to discharge at the same rate as pre-development while reducing the flooding of Hayes Road. The redesign made several other changes to the overall design necessary. For ease of comparison, the following table illustrates changes from the original approved master development plan to the current submittal. The approved master development plan was a density of 2.41 dwelling units per acre. The revised master development plan, the density has gone down to 2.34 dwelling units per acre. Open space was at 32.9% or 8.46 acres. The redesign, it's at 39.3% or 10.07 acres. Number of lots in the original approved plan was 62, and that number has dropped to 60 lots. Following items remain the same from the original submittal. Setbacks, minimum lot sizes, minimum home sizes, architectural requirements, buffers, access, and phasing. The lot layout is similar to the approved master development plan, with differences being on the northern side that are necessary to accommodate the second detention pond. Other differences include a redesign of the northern lots resulting in a reduction in lots from 62 to 60 and the elimination of a cove. As per a condition placed by the Planning Commission, lot sizes of lots 52 to 59 have been adjusted to retain the 50-foot buffer south of lot 52. These lots now have a minimum width of 55 feet. A condition has been added requiring the outline condition sheet be modified to include this language. It should be noted that 55-foot lot width minimum is equal to the minimum of the Hayes Place PD across Hayes Road. As per a Planning Commission condition, a pedestrian connection to Hayes Road is included in the resubmittal for the Board of Mayor and Alderman approval. A sidewalk is proposed along the northern side of the entry drive and will include ADA access across Hayes Road. Seating area is included on the south side of the drive. Architectural character. Specifications for architectural character indicated using the neighboring Hayes Place as a reference to the style and quality of the homes. As with the original plans, the following items are defined by the master development plan. 2,400 square foot minimum heated, which is equal to Hayes Place. 2-car side entry or courtyard garages or no front entry garages will be permitted. 100% brick or stone on the first floor with cement board siding allowed on the second story only, or a total brick requirement of 50%. Screening of mechanical units. Fences must be made of wood, brick, or ornamental metal. Wood fences are to have the same appearance on both sides or a shadow box design. Appropriate materials and colors are specified to ensure the uniformity of the material palette. Should be noted that the majority of the PDs in Arlington have a minimum brick percentage requirement of 80%. It is the opinion of staff that increasing the minimum percentages of brick or stone to 80% would be more appropriate for the area, and as such, a condition has been added concerning this. Another area of concern is consistency of fencing. Staff has been approached by several board members who have expressed concerns about the inconsistencies of fence types in subdivisions in town. As such, revisions are in progress, making changes to the ordinances requiring wood fences to be constructed of cedar in lieu of pressure-treated pine and capped. As such, staff has included a condition requiring wood fences to be constructed of cedar and include cap and trim. Should be noted that the Planning Commission, in its review, placed a condition requiring the applicant to work with staff to enhance the entrance and the entrance signage. At the creation of this presentation, this item has not been addressed. Staff will work with the applicant to ensure compliance with the condition. Town of Arlington guidelines and the standards set by the surrounding developments. Lastly, a condition has been added that a clarification of heated space must be added, stating that a garage, whether conditioned or not, shall not be included in heating space calculations. Objectives of plan development. Pursuing to the Town of Arlington Zone Code, town may grant a PD that results in specific tangible benefits to the community. Specific objectives are noted in section 5.1.2, and review criteria are in section 5.7.1. The revised plan, as with the original approved plan, accomplishes several objectives by preserving natural features and vegetation, utilizing an efficient network design to reduce public infrastructure needs, and providing non-vehicle travel options and potentially reducing vehicle trip lengths. The applicant designed the site in a way to utilize the neighborhood and street layouts that were built with previous projects. The plan clearly takes adjacent existing homes into account with their lot sizes and layout, with their added landscape buffers and preservation areas along Hayes Road. The site is consistent with the town's future land development plan. It can be well integrated with its surrounding and can be served by existing and surrounding roads. Drainage, sewer, and utilities are anticipated to be adequate as well, and the next steps with more technical plans will confirm that. Staff does recommend approval of the proposed Mayberry Plan Development Master Plan revision, subject to conditions of approval, Planning Commission conditions, and any other conditions that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen may feel are appropriate. And this concludes my presentation, and representatives from the developer are available.
You've heard the recommendation by Mr. Crater. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Biggs. Second by Mr. McKee. And we do, before we get talking on this main motion, we do have a public hearing. So do I have a motion to suspend the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting and open the public hearing? Motion by Mr. Harmon. Second by Vice Mayor McKee. Any objection to that? So meeting is now suspended. Public hearing is open. This is for Resolution 2023 to approve the amendment to the Master Development Plan for Mayberry PD. This was published in the Commercial Appeal on October 18th, 2023. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this request, please stand and be recognized. And we'll ask you to state your name and address for the record. So do we only have the one here for the PD? Or the public hearing? Come on up. Yes, sir.
No, new. Dale? Eads? EADS? 5695 Hayes Road.
Will you state that again just so we can hear it up here?
Dale Eads, 5695 Hayes Road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so my question is pretty simple then, since you've already gone through part of this process, is has there been any discussion on the impact that this additional development is going to have on traffic patterns, especially during like peak traffic hours? What is the impact to the schools and added congestion there, as well as what is the impact to added taxes to the community?
Is that all is that what you have?
For starters, yeah.
Oh, we don't do a Q&A during a public hearing. You just get to say what you want to say and address it, and then we have the discussion after that.
So are you telling me then after this, you just go right into vote and approve?
We're going into discussion about it. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we'll hear what you have to say.
Thank you. Is anyone else here to speak on this particular topic only? Yes, sir. Do you have a card? Oh, you have a card? Well, come on up.
Greg Chapman, 5587 Deer Park Cove. I'm the current owner of the retention pond there in Snyder Plantation, which drains into this. It said it's anticipated that the drainage is going to be adequate. I hope they've really done their homework on this, because there's a lot of water that comes through that retention pond. Plus, the levee of that retention pond is starting to be compromised. It will give way in the next few years. That needs to be addressed. I'd hate to see somebody's house get flooded, because it will. So, curious, I know you're not answering, but how they're going to connect in the pipe to that retention pond has got me curious, because they have to come on our property to do it. So, just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Do we have any other cards? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing and resume the meeting? Motion by Mr. Biggs, second by Vice Mayor McKee. All right, we are back on the main motion. Discussion, questions, or anything that staff wants to address from what they just heard, this is their chance. So, who's up?
I do have a question.
Speak in the microphone, please.
I do have a question for Steve. With them changing the way they're doing it, I think the discussion we've had before, this is supposed to improve the drainage
Yes,
on Hayes Road, because we know what the issue is there.
yes,
I just thought maybe you want to speak to that, because
Okay.
that's mainly what this is all about, because that's the only one of the major changes in it.
yes, sir. The original plan was to widen and deepen and enlarge the ditch along Hayes Road. That's the reason Hayes Road floods now, is that the ditch is not big enough to carry the water that comes to it. We had hoped that to be able to fix that just by making the ditch larger. TDEC would not let us do that. So what they've done in this plan is left the ditch along the road as it is, but there will be an overflow at the upper end of that section of ditch that will let water run into the detention basins for the development. So it will divert peak flows that currently flood Hayes Road and take it through their detention system. It will improve the flooding. It's probably not as going to be as good as it would have been with the ditch itself as we wanted to do, but it will be a great improvement over what we have today.
So it will be improvement of what we see there when we have a huge rain.
Yes, sir. I believe it will be much better than it is today. I might speak to the question about drainage from the upper detention basin. We had a lot of discussions with the developer's engineer about that, and what they've done is they've put in well, let me back up a little bit. That detention basin was designed for a 10-year storm. Our current design standard is a 25-year storm, and so in a 25-year storm, the water will fill that basin and overflow the spillway. So what they've done is put in a pipe system that can take the 25-year storm plus any overflow that comes from that basin. So they've sized their pipes much larger than you might normally do, but just because of that smaller basin upstream. If the levee is failing, unfortunately, that basin is on private property, and unless there's an HOA that maintains it, I think it falls on that property owner to maintain that basin. Might need to check on that, but that's what I believe the situation is. So we have not tried to design a system that would take a levee breach. We don't normally do that, and it's a fairly small pond, so that really does need to be maintained. Third question was about traffic. And I don't think this 60 lots is going to have a large impact on traffic that you'll see anywhere else around town. The main benefit of this development is that it now provides another way out from a fairly large couple of subdivisions back there that currently only have two exits. Chapel Ridge and then the one to the north, and I forget, Snyder Plantation. Thank you. Those two subdivisions, you can only come out at two places, and with this development now, you'll have one other option to Hayes Road, but then it will connect to both Snyder and Chapel Ridge at two locations. So,
Backside of Chapel Ridge, where you normally go north all the way through
yes,
and then back down Darby, or
it'll be much more convenient for the residents, for emergency vehicles, for everything, to have that third access.
Thank you,
Since
Mr.
you're
Hill.
talking about this, the retention pond
Jeremy.
that's,
Jeremy, speak in the microphone so everybody can hear.
the retention pond that's on the private property. Just so I'm clear, that there's nothing that this project's going to do that's going to prevent that retention pond from overflowing. It's going to take the water that overflows and be able to move it out, but there's really nothing that's going, because I know where he's talking about. I live over there. How many times has that overflowed probably? Do you know?
Done it twice since I've lived there,
Twice?
18 years.
Okay, 18 years. But there's nothing, and there's really nothing that the developer can do for that because that's on private property.
That's correct. We had discussions about whether it was even feasible to consider expanding the depth, the size of that basin. Obviously, that would have required an agreement with the property owner. I think the developer determined that it was probably easier just to put in a larger drain system. Also, on the subject of connecting to it, there will not be a physical connection to the outlet pipe. There will be a pipe downstream, I think, with a head wall, yet to be determined
You mind
specifically.
coming up real quick, just,
There will be a
and
pipe
state your
downstream.
name and so that way we can just kind of get this issue out there.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Josh Burnett. I'm the engineer representing Renaissance Development. So yes, sir, we have looked at the Snyder detention pond. We have determined that it's undersized. We increased the downstream pipe to handle it. However, we did discuss, we ran an option if we picked up the berm of that pond, we could decrease our size of the pipe and fix that detention
So that would
problem that
slow
is
the
there.
water, that would slow the water down.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it gives it more volume, if the
Right.
property owner will allow us to do that. I think if the property owner's okay with it, a great solution to this would be, let us hook to it with a pipe, and then probably build up that berm. I think overall, it would be a better option, and we don't have all that extra pipe, and we can work that out. That's a suggestion. I'm open to that.
Who is the property owner again? I know you're the owner. I knew that there's not an HOA, but I didn't know if there was some of these subdivisions have some open space that, non-HOA. I just want to make sure that it was all, so it's all on you.
It's on the lot.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have erosion problems? Okay. Well, if you would like, we can talk about this after the meeting. That could be an option.
If you connected to it, that would alleviate the openness and the washout.
Correct. So that detention pond has got an outfall on it, and without permission, we can't directly connect to it. So right now we have a head wall, but if we could connect to it, then you don't have that blowout right there and then a head wall. So that would be a pretty good option. So I'll leave you my phone number. We can discuss that if you're open to it.
We can also send Public Works over to take a look at
Sure.
anything that we might be able to suggest to the lot owner about what they can do to prevent further erosion and any further damage to the lake.
Well, anything we can do on the front end. I mean, I appreciate that offer if that's as long as Mr. Hill
I would
and
do
Mr. Lawson are in agreement and it's something that can be worked out, then, I mean, anything that we can do that we think will improve, we need to do, but.
And at this point, we don't have detailed construction plans. I think they're probably close to being ready to submit those pending this approval, but we can look at that in much more detail and meet with the property owner if we need to work out a solution.
It's Greg, right? Don't you, isn't somebody else on the other half of that, or is the whole thing yours? It seems like I remember it was split down the middle. Okay, I couldn't remember. One time it was split down the middle or something. I can't remember. I know it. I know where it is. I know it's.
They'd probably sell you half.
Sometimes there's a golf hole down in that.
There's quite a few golf holes.
We'll just try.
All right, well, thank you for addressing that, and as, it's not a condition of this, of course, but it's, if staff and you all and the property owner can all work that out, then I don't think there's any objection from the board from doing so.
I don't think it's a condition, but I think it needs to be stated
We just did.
that they're going to look at this
It is.
before they move forward.
I think Mr. Hill, it's going to be depending on if those two can have an agreement to do it, and then staff will work on it. And and we'll work with them on it. Correct, Mr. Durant?
Correct.
There we go.
The only other issue that was brought up, Mayor, was capacity at your school.
Capacity of schools and taxes, probably, we don't just, I know Mr. Dietz, we don't, I guess, I mean, we probably could do the calculation and figure it, but we don't, when we approve developments, we don't usually, try to do a calculation, this is gonna bring in X amount of taxes, it's just not kind of part of our process, so even though you can probably figure it out, I guess if we wanted to really try it. An impact on schools, I mean, I think anything, we hear that a lot on schools, but our schools have a lot of room to grow still. I mean, we've tried to remind everybody that we've lost, or not lost, as Lakeland's expanded and started growing their school system, we've lost students. And so we have room, and we have room to grow and maneuver within those schools. So as a matter of fact, I mean, I think five years ago, I think the schools were talking about possibly building a another middle school or an elementary school at some point, and here we are 5 years later, and I still think they say they're 5 years out probably, so that, with some of that, the moving, the market and all that, that target's move. So at some point, there will be another school, but it won't be, I mean, we're gonna grow, so we're gonna have to grow with it, but it's not gonna, this is not gonna create an impact on that at this time. So, were there any other questions or
There's the
comments?
80% brick thing that Jeremy mentioned.
That was a condition in there already, though, correct, Jeremy?
Yes, it was already conditioned, yes, sir.
But it said,
The 80% brick is a condition?
Yes, it's already listed as a condition.
Yeah, that's what it said.
I did have a couple
well,
of
it's
things.
not.
There was the fence, there was the
Yes, sir.
brick.
What's already conditioned is the 80% brick requirement. This is weird in back.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. So the 80% brick is already conditioned, the fence types and construction is already conditioned.
Okay.
So-
Well, it said
And-
50, and then it said staff.
Well, initially, it's written as 50, but we've already, staff's already added a condition
Okay.
requiring PD.
Okay.
So kind of like,
And then, and also, no street parking is a condition.
no street parking.
Yeah. Overnight street parking.
That's a, yeah, I think that was under the original.
Right. And the only thing, I was a little disappointed, like, because I think this came to the planning commission 2 months ago, that you guys haven't met on the entrance yet. So that's just something, I guess I have a question. If we approve this tonight, how does, now that staff is going to meet with them and come to an agreement on some type of improvement at the entrance?
Will that go through, can that go through DRC or as part of the condition to? I mean, because I think at the planning commission level, I think it was more because since the road had kind of changed some, that was that monument going to.
Monument type of column, monument type of signage proposed, but.
And I think we were kind of worried about visibility of traffic too.
Well, and I think, my understanding that it was more of a sign, the planning commission wanted more of a sign that was more similar to what, his place.
And the preserve, yeah.
Preserve had more of a substantial sign, I guess.
Like grand.
Yes. But they were very minimalist, columns with nice, with a vinyl,
Had the M in there.
three-rail fence.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think planning commission was looking for something a little bit more, more.
I'll speak to that.
Come on up.
I think something got mixed up in sending plans over to you or something, because we're willing to change that to make it look like the preserve, and David said he'll send that over to you tomorrow. And then this will also be a DRC item, so I think it's just a mix-up on that. I'm sorry I didn't make it to you, but I'm more than willing to make your accommodations.
So your thing was, whatever it is, needs to be off the street a little bit.
No, it was just, what they proposed was just a brick column
Right.
with an M on it, and,
So this is sort of what's proposed.
yeah,
Right.
that would be the entrance. I mean, it doesn't even say the name of the subdivision. And so, when, at planning commission, we talked about something that's more similar to what the preserve has in the Hayes place.
Hayes Place is very ornate, preserve is a little bit more minimalist,
Can you, instead of going to the design review, talk to a couple of the members and the planner about doing it that way?
Let the staff get with Jeff as chair of design review, something along that line, or?
I'm fine with that, that's, everybody would y'all like to go, if you wanted to go to DRC, we could.
I mean, I trust you guys if as long as you got the idea of the preserve
think
and
that-
Hayes place.
I think the easiest route is when you get it, just share it and get some input.
Yeah.
Just get some input. I mean, it's usually, it's worked out good. Sometimes we've done it like that, so.
And the only other thing I'll say is, I know you probably didn't like having to make the changes, and that from the original that was approved, but I actually like it a lot better. I went back and looked at my notes, and one of the things I did not like about the other one, even though I voted for the project as a whole, was the cove, how many houses are in the cove and stuff. So you guys eliminated that. 2 less lots, the area between Hayes Road and the houses is even bigger than it was before. And then I think this neighborhood really complements Hayes Place across the street and the preserve, which is right beside it. So, I think overall this is going to be a great development.
And the condition, the condition is in there, the buffer between the dead end street. Yeah, so, okay. All right, other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item passes. Next up, item C, Resolution 2023-34 to authorize Mike Wisman in his capacity as mayor to enter into a professional service agreement with J.R. Warford and Company Consulting for services related to the Town of Arlington wastewater treatment plant expansion. Mr. Hill, we're going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, the Phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant expansion has been designed, bid, and awarded, and we're waiting equipment arrival, but we need to proceed with Phase 2, which is expanding plant capacity and handling sludge disposal services or processes for the plant. So we have a proposal from J.R. Walford for the Phase 2 design phase, is what's in your packet. Total contract amount of $1,052,000. We've examined that in great detail versus the scope of work and the budget for the project, and it includes RPR services during construction. It includes startup and O&M services, O&M manual for the plant once it's expanded, and so we are recommending approval of that agreement.
You've heard the recommendation from Mr. Hill. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Biggs, second by Mr. Wiseman. Discussion or questions? It's pretty, one of those.
We're just gonna cash flow this? That's what I like to hear. Right.
We're already working with Warford on everything else too, right?
She had to run her night.
Just about time you get the first one paid off, right?
There you go. It's expected. All right, any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item passes. Item D, Resolution 2023-35 to authorize Mike Wisman's capacity as mayor to enter a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn for Arlington Secondary Road Plan to aid future development and safe facilitation to traffic for the town of Arlington. Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. The genesis of this really is, we typically update our major road plan every few years, but what you get out of that is a plan that says Airline Road needs to be 5 lanes and Donaldson Farms Parkway needs to be this and that. And what I've figured out over the past few years is that you need to drill down a little deeper than that into areas, particularly looking at south of I-40, probably from 385 to the Fayette County line and down to Donaldson at least, to look at some greater detail as to how much development and density and what major east-west and north-south roadways you need. If things continue to develop piecemeal, before you know it, you've cut off access. If I could have written the plan a long time ago, I would have had an access out of Summer Meadows subdivision to the east, but we don't have that. And all the traffic gets funneled to 2 locations. So to avoid those kind of situations as the development continues south of I-40, that's really the main goal of this project. But we're looking town-wide if we need to, but most of the north half is developed. There's very little areas left that we don't have adequate roadways. But we want to make sure we don't get behind in South Arlington as development occurs. So that's what this contract covers.
You've heard the recommendation by Mr. Hill. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Biggs, second by Mr. Harmon. Thank you, Mr. Hill, because, we were all in a meeting the other day, and as we talk development, as we talk overpass, we talk all this, Kimley Horn's kind of doing the studies on all these, so it makes sense to kind of take all the information they've already gathered, expand it some more, and get us a good plan moving forward, because we don't need bottlenecking. So.
And it's difficult to tell one single property owner, we've got to cut out some section of your lot for your roadway if we don't have a plan that shows it needs to be there. So we need that plan.
Other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item passes. Any other new business, Ms. Owens? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the bills for payment?
Motion to approve the bills for payment.
A motion by Mr. Biggs. Second by Mr. Harmon. Any objection to paying the bills? Seeing none, that item passes. Any other announcements before we get a motion to adjourn? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, Ms. Sir. The September meeting, y'all promised us a decision or about what they're going to happen with the flood on summer wind.
Yes.
We hadn't heard a word.
I guess we didn't get a motion. Yeah, I'll let Mr. Hill speak to it real quick.
And my apologies that I know we talked about the deadline trying to get to this meeting. I just got survey information last week. I know you've had surveyors out around your property over the last few weeks. We just got that in, and my goal is to get that evaluated and some solutions proposed by the next board meeting, by the December board meeting. And I'm sorry we didn't let you know about this.
Thank you. Apologize, Mr. Byrd. I know it's been a concern of yours for a while, so. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? I think I had one, but did I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Biggs, second by Mr. Harmon. Any objection? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.